Welcome to my show. It's a guest here. Her name is Miriam Ortiz. Mrs. Miriam, how are you doing, ma?
I am great today.
I'm so much, very much happy to have you on the podcast. And also, thank you so much, Mrs. Miriam, for the opportunity. Firstly, you are a certified professional organizer. You are also a money breakthrough business coach. Can you please, Mrs. Miriam, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mrs. Miriam?
Yeah, so I love to help people make the connections between organization, productivity, and money mindset. It's kind of all the same thing. And while I started out helping people with their clutter and their stuff, it quickly became apparent that they had issues with how to make decisions about money, how they were spending their money and their time. And so they up, and I just kind of added one piece of the puzzle at a time to come up with a robust methodology that incorporates all of them at the same time when I'm working with my clients.
That is very, very inspiring. Thank you so much for the insights, Mrs. Miriam. And also, I would like to dive to your book. If you've written any book, or if you are planning to write any book in the coming future, Mrs. Miriam, do you have any book you've written, or are you planning to write any book in the coming future, Mrs. Miriam?
I have not currently written my own book, although I have contributed to several. And I someday will write a book. I and other days I'm like, I can't quite figure out what I want to say yet in a book. I always have something to say. I just don't know how to reel it into a book.
All right. Thank you so much. Definitely, book is something that someone have to be preferred, and also someone have to have a good reason of writing it. So it's definitely something that
Mm-hmm.
might come and might not come in the coming future. And I also like to dive to the point of productivity, Mrs. Miriam. In our life currently now, we do need to be productive. We have to be productive to also have a lot of a lot of achievements that we need in our time currently. So, in your own idea, how can you define true productivity beyond just getting more done? And in your experience, what do you think are the biggest misconception people have about being productive, Mrs. Miriam?
First of all, I've noticed a lot of people just do a lot of things and think they're being productive. But true productivity comes from knowing what your desired outcome is and doing tasks that get you closer to that outcome. And it doesn't even have to be on a timeline. I mean, some people are very timeline driven, deadline driven. Use that. Other people are not. And it's more about consistent action over time, which is me. um, and you can't, if you're one or the other, you cannot be truly productive using the other system. So it's important to take a little bit of time to figure out which kind of productivity gets you into flow and gets you towards your desired outcome. Um, it doesn't matter how pretty things are. It doesn't matter as much as some people think what order you do things in, or maybe it does. Sometimes the order people start with the unimportant stuff instead of the bigger picture and then drill it down into the individual tasks that get me to those benchmarks along the way. But I think the true sense of if you've been productive or not is how do you feel at the end of the day? Do you feel like you wasted a bunch of time? Do you feel like you're still drowning in details? Or do you feel fulfilled and satisfied that you did good work today? I think that's the main reason or the main emotion that goes into productivity. It's not how many things you checked off the list.
I definitely agree with you, Mrs. Mariam. It's not about the numbers, it's not about the checkbox, it's about, the most important thing is, the productivity and what someone is bringing to the table. It's definitely important. And also, definitely, there could also be daily practice from your experience that you personally think that is could help someone in building this productivity. Productivity is something that is meant to be built in its own way. So, what do you think are the daily habits that you could possibly recommend from your experience to build a consistent productivity, Mrs. Miriam?
Yeah, you can't forget the foundational things. You have to sleep. You have to have something basic needs first, And then your body and brain can join you in being more productive. When you just start going, going, going and ignore that stuff because it's not important, you don't have the energy, the nutrition to be able to follow through on what you're trying to do. So don't forget that doing your laundry and the dishes and feeding yourself and sleeping are, look, if you don't have any juice in there to support that creativity, it's going to take 6 times longer, and you're going to be frustrated and you're going to get distracted and you're not going to process information correctly and you may have to redo things. So don't forget the foundation. I'm not saying get lost in the foundational things all day to at the expense of the creativity. Just don't forget them. Make it easy on yourself. Get those done in a short amount of time by having those things become habitual. And then you free up a bunch of time and energy to actually be creative or productive in other ways.
I definitely agree with you with this, Mrs. Mariam. Every single person wants to just, overdo things and things like that. But we have to just have this texture, this mixture, these things that could motivate us and not putting it to overburden us in terms of ways. Because whether we like it or not, it's not going to be easy. And whether we like it or not, they used to say very well, if you leave this world, those things are still going to be there. So we just have to have the time to rest, have the kind of motivation and the texture to continue to roll about and build what we are doing to be more productive, but not having too much burden on it. And that is why I would like to dive to the point of burnout. Burnout is one of the things that, business and stuff like that are one of the most biggest thing that we do know that is a very big issue in our time currently due to the high rate of productivity that every single person are into in our time currently, Mrs. Miriam. So how do you think someone can also, overcome the constant feeling of being busy and probably not even productive in the business what he or she there's some productivity that someone can spend all the whole day and nothing is coming out of it, and some people like this is just 30 minutes, they already know where they're going, so this life is not balanced. So what how do you think someone can overcome that kind of constant feeling, and what do you think is your take on multitasking? Some people are always into this multitasking. So what do you think are your take when it comes to multitasking, and do you think it's ever helpful, or do you think it's even more harmful in our time currently, Mrs. Miriam?
Multitasking is really, really bad. It's just not the way our brains actually work. um, go to a light switch and just start flipping it on and off. That's what happens in your brain when you multitask. It never lets go of the other thing. And so you're wasting energy. It takes longer. I love the framework of sequential focus instead. And it goes to your point about life isn't actually balanced. You can't actually balance it. It's more like a juggle. You have to pay attention to one thing at a time. When you're juggling, you have to be on the ball that you're about to catch, not the one that you're throwing. Like that just happens in the background. So you want to focus on one thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. And it is not about all the way to completion of that thing necessarily. If it's a bigger project, you want to focus on it for a bit of time and then switch and do a different task and then switch to a different task. And that way you are building your unconscious brain wiring as well. So it starts finding patterns and solutions to the other thing you were working on while you're doing something else. But when you try to do both at the same time, like have a conversation and do your social media, you're ignoring the person you're conversing with. You may miss something. You're mistyping on the social media, and then you've got to go backtrack and fix it. And so just being a little more in the moment about what am I working on right now? Right now, I'm in this podcast interview. I'm focused on you and your audience and answers to the questions to the best of my ability. I am not also checking my phone or writing out my checks or, petting the dog. I'm here. And then I will go on and do the other things on my list for the day. But I think thinking of it in that sequential thing, now, next, and after that. What am I working on right now? Right now, I'm doing my dishes. After that, I'm going to take my shower. After that, I'm going to hop on a podcast. Like what is your actual order of things for now, next, and after that. And everything else is later.
Definitely agree with you, Mrs. Miriam. Honestly speaking, what you said currently now is very, 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 very powerful, honestly speaking, because definitely we have to try our best to just know how to put things in order. I think having plans is the best thing. As you said earlier, just the most easiest way to say it is having plans that definitely goes with what one has had, daily. Because it's very important, because if we put too much burden on ourselves, nothing
Mhm.
is going to work. And most of the time, it takes more time. But as you said, if I can have, I do live alone. So if I can have a time, I want to watch this time. I want to watch this thing this time. I want to do something like this time. Having the time to get those things done
Mhm.
actually works in a very, very awesome way. Having the time, not having doing this one is definitely bring a lot of, even to the point that, just as you said earlier, just switching on, switching on, switching on, switching off the brain is not definitely something that is
Yep.
recommended in our life that we are currently. I want to sincerely thank you for that insight. It's a very, very important insight. I think every single person needs to be aware of.
Mhm.
And also, I would like to dive to people, how you personally, as a coach, from the experience you have, how you personally coach people when it's come who are probably burned out from trying to be too productive. Some people, they have that brain set, they just want to do everything. They want to have everything. They want to
Yeah.
just be on every single way. And I do not know why it's like that, but some people have those type of. So, how from your experience, how do you think you probably, coach people who are burned out, who are probably burned out from trying to be too productive in the life they've come for, Mrs. Miriam?
Yeah, the busy work can zap our energy very quickly because it's like running on a treadmill. It's not nearly as fun as running on a trail. First, you spend, connecting it back to the now, next, after that. What's the next best action you can take towards that? It's probably not returning the phone call from your cousin Joe about the party on the weekend. You've got something more prior of a higher priority today than that, if that's just something you're doing for fun on the side or a family obligation. So, getting really clear on what's important and getting out of urgent. A lot of my clients, and I don't know if this one's a cultural one as much as a global phenomenon, but feeling like everyone else's emergency is yours to take care of right now is rampant here. And I think it's super important to distinguish what's important for you getting towards your goal versus what's important for the other person and their goal. And how are you going to create a boundary that allows you to support them or help them, but not at the expense of your own stuff? So that is a great way to navigate by asking yourself what is the most important work on now, next, and after that, towards that bigger picture goal you have. Um, and then still, I used to do this thing when I worked with people where I would just kind of, hang on, I'm not done with this. Give me 1 second or 30 seconds. I would finish what I was working on, and then I would turn and be, fully engaged with whatever the question was. And it doesn't, I mean, it saves so much more time than having to answer that question, turn back to what I was doing, figure it out. And you end up not feeling interrupted either when you take control of where you're going to break those boundaries.
I sincerely, honestly speaking, that is just how it is currently now. We definitely need to focus on one specific thing. It is very important before we go to the to another area, because if we just put everything together, it's definitely not going to work, and it's going to be more difficult and even more
Mhm.
stressing in the life that we've
Mhm.
come. So focusing on one thing before getting to the other, because we do have a lot of, it's very sweet. It's very interesting when someone has a lot of goals, a lot of achievements. It's very, very interesting. It gives that person the motivation. But definitely, we have to definitely check on the most important one. Then, when we check on the most important one, what should I do next and what should I do after? And that is why I love what you said currently, finishing what you've done and also answering the question. Because if you are doing the two together, it will get to a time, when you answer that other one question and you come back, you're like, what am I doing here? But when someone is completely done and going to the next area, it definitely makes works more easier, and it makes it more faster. It's just something
Mhm.
that we definitely need to practice. It's something that we definitely need to
Mhm.
develop in our time. I think it's something we need to develop in our body because it's something that is just a gradual process. But by the time we are developed to that point, then definitely we could know what to do at the right moment. We could know what to fix at the right moment, and we could know how to develop our time at the right moment. We do know that this time that we just have to know how we could be productive, but we have to do it in a way that we are not overbound, we are not over too stressed about it. We are living life. We are happy because whether we like it or not, we are coming to this world. We are living one day. We are not here for life, so we just have to continue to give the time of space, to give the kind of joy and also the gladness of the beauty of the life that we've come. So it's very important. So having the time and also knowing what to know at the right time is very, very important. Thank you so much for the insight you've brought onto the table when it comes to productivity, Mrs. Miriam. It means a lot. Lastly, Mrs. Miriam, there's
Yeah.
a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers,
Mhm.
from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time or our forefathers' time. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mrs. Miriam, what do you think that thing will be, Mrs. Miriam?
What a good question. Um, I think pleasure in the simple things and taking care of our own like there's that intersection between personal responsibility and civic engagement, and I think somewhere along the line we've all kind of lost that a bit and gotten very caught up in ourselves and striving for things that matter. So somewhat I would bring back less materialism and more engagement with each other, I think.
Yes, we do know that this material things is definitely a very big issue. I think we need more nature and more connection within each other. I think that is more better. It's valuable than anything. We
Yes.
see ourselves, we show the love, we show the care. There's nothing more beautiful than that. It's
Mhm.
more beautiful than probably whatever one have. It's more beautiful than the prosperity or everything one have. But if someone can have this kind of it's just something that is natural. I don't think it's something that can be done in one way or the other. It's natural, it comes in its own way, and it really helps us to have the beauty and enjoy this life because that is the beauty of life. We enjoy it and we show that kind of care within each other. I think that is very, very important. I'm definitely hope that it's come back. We do know this life is self-centered, as you said earlier, but we definitely hope it's something that is definitely developed and we definitely bring back in our time today. And Mrs. Miriam, I want to honestly, sincerely thank you for the time and the opportunity that you've given to me. Is definitely a very, very interesting discussion. Speaking of productivity, productivity is something that we definitely need in our time. We have to be productive, but we don't have to do it to a point whereby we overburden ourselves and we put so much pressure on ourselves. We have to be happy. We have to live life. We have to show care within each other. And we have to continue to know the right time for us to do what we are meant to do. Thank you so much, Mrs. Miriam.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, Mrs. Miriam. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.